Welcome to Forward Talks, a podcast by Goumbook about moving towards sustainability in the region and beyond. I'm Tatiana Antonelli. I'm joined on the episode today by Tarek Al-Khoury, the Regional Coordinator for Resource Efficiency and Sustainable Consumption and Production at the West Asia Office of the UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme. UNEP is specifically focused on SDG12, Sustainable Production and Consumption. I had a chance to interact with him in a panel discussion at the Food for Future Summit, which was held in February, and I wanted to talk to him about UNEP initiatives for SDG12, as well as how we can work together to reduce our food waste. You'll also find links to previous episodes where we talk about the problem of food waste in the show notes. So tell us more about your journey.
Before doing this role, I was working with UN Habitat on housing and slum upgrading, and this is where I learned to do the linkages between urban planning, housing, and energy efficiency, which led me to sustainable consumption production. As a background, I'm an architect, and I have a master in environmental urban planning and project program management. So this quite diverse background led me here.
Incredible. I also study architecture, and somehow I find that most of the people who study architecture end up doing other things because architecture gives you such a broad view on the world. It's not only about building, it's about communities also.
As well, yes. And it's about creation. It's about planning, imagination. So I'm very happy to know that you have a background in architecture. Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely. And I can see how when you are into, UN Habitat, you not only see the built environment, but you go beyond that. So SDG 12 definitely is a starting point into, engaging and making sure that we live in better communities, healthier communities, cleaner communities. But so what led you then to work within UNEP into, food security, food waste?
As you mentioned, Tatiana, the SDG 12, the Sustainable Consumption and Production goal, it is already identified in UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme, as a foundational sub-program, which means if we consume and if we produce sustainably, then my peers will be without jobs, which means the climate change coordinator will not have a work because the problem will be solved on long term. Of course, it's much more complicated than that. The ecosystem will be restored, will be revived. The air quality will be solved or will be back to standards by default. So it's all about sustainable consumption and production. And the concept of food system in general, it's a wide concept. It's complicated. It starts from agriculture to the point that the food is on our table. And this value chain, it has several steps. Now we are talking about food waste, which is the last step of the food system. And this is still comes under the concept of consuming and producing food in a sustainable manner. And it's, in my opinion, it's one of the most complicated and interesting phase because it has a lot to be done.
So you have maybe the big challenge of having different stakeholders. It's not only about maybe policies and regulation, it's also about behavior, understanding what we can do, being a business, being an individual.
Yes, indeed. I mean, when it comes to food waste, in our opinion and in the research we done at UNEP, it cannot be solved only by policy and regulation. First, this challenge is divided into different phases. It has the let's say the measurement component, which is very important because we cannot build a policy or a strategy without knowing the size of the issue, without knowing exactly how much food we are wasting. It requires intensive effort by governments and by different stakeholders, because food waste does not come only from household. It comes also from the HoReCa business, hotel, restaurant, cafeterias, as well as the retail. So food need to be measured at all this phases. At the same time, it need to be measured in different location, and there is a methodology to do that, and this could be found in the Global Food Waste Index, which set the methodology on how to do this, and it's a product by FAO and by UNEP together. And it's important to highlight that measuring food waste, it's a commitment that governments made while the SDG has been formulated. There is SDG 12, SDG 12.3.1, which talks about the measuring food waste and loss.
So yesterday at the panel discussion we had about legislation and measurement, you mentioned that there are already 7 countries that have done a baseline on their food waste levels. Who are these countries?
Okay, so the countries that managed to create the food waste baseline, tackling all the 3 sectors of households, HoReCa, as well as the retails, are Australia, Austria, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, UK, USA. And from the region, we have Saudi Arabia, who also managed to create a very detailed food waste baseline following the UNEP and FAO methodology. They might miss the food service sector, but to our knowledge, they are updating their baseline.
That's amazing. So this is the first country in the region.
Yes, Saudi Arabia is the first country in the region. We really hope all the countries, all Arab states will follow this path.
So Tarek, now that we know that countries are taking a step forward, that there is a methodology for measurement, and we're talking here about enabling policies and regulations, from the other side, the community, what can we do?
I guess, measuring measuring food waste and designing policy and regulation will not be enough. If we as global partners, INGOs, NGOs, social enterprise like yourself, if we don't work hand in hand on behavioral change, I think the work will not be completed. There is a lot of awareness that need to be spread about this issue, and we expect the impact will be better than enforcing rules and regulation, etc. So important to spread the word, important to explain to everyone the sizes of this issue in a language that is smooth, that's straightforward, and that is transparent. And it's fun for people to react on it and to understand the size of it in a non-technical matter. Like the special, like the many sessions you organized during the Food for Future Summit, it was really amazing. I'm sure it will have a lot of impact. Other way, and the usual way of doing this, is to do social media campaigns, like the one that UNEP is doing now with the top chef from the region. This campaign we are doing, it called Recipe of Change. It has some fun videos to deliver the message on why we should not waste food, and if we do, what is the impact will be on the planet. So we really encourage all partners to come together to work on public awareness campaigns, and not only share why this is a problem for the planet. We also need to share solutions, and this is what we are doing in the campaign. And seeing your work also in Goumbook, I see that you are also recommending a lot of things that people can follow. For instance, the Recipe of Change campaign, we advocate for save, store, share. We invite people to really save the quantity of the food by planning in advance the meal and the shopping, and make sure that the product that are buying They check the expiry date, and which will take us to the second phase, which is storing. Storing the food also, it's important. If it's stored correctly, it will prolong the life cycle of the food. One of the good tips that some of people does not know is really, for instance, the vegetable. If you don't wash it when you buy it, you can just you can prolong its life cycle. You can also follow the campaign and see some advices on how to store the meat, the vegetable, etc. How to separate the item you are storing, what can go to the fridge, what cannot go to the fridge, etc. So those information are available. And by following them simply, you can really reduce food waste. And when it comes to the last stage, which when we are wasting food, it shouldn't go to waste. There is a lot of people in need. There is a lot of hunger around the world, and I saw Goumbook really advocating for how to share leftover food safely, considering the hygiene. I saw you calling for action for that, and this is something we really, really appreciate. When it comes to wasting food, at the last stage, you have two options. First, try to share it with the needy, the people that can benefit from this food, or try to compost. We saw a lot of initiatives here in Emirate on how you can compost the leftover food and how you can benefit from the composting element to replant or do in-house agriculture activities.
It's true. We've seen so much during this event at Food for Future. And one thing that actually it was a panel, one of the tips given by the experts was grow food in your balconies, in your homes, near the windows, in your gardens. But I could see in the audience some faces being a bit like skeptical. And so we also need to address those people who might not be interested, who don't have time, because we also have busy lives, to know that there are different services that can do this for us. And I'm sure you're referring, when we're talking about composting, to the Waste Lab. Ladies here in the UAE, they've just started, and basically you just have to put your scraps in the bin. They collect it on a weekly basis, and it's, out of sight, out of your mind, but actually something really important happens. These scraps become then really a rich element, a fertilizer that can go back to farmers. So there's a lot happening, and I think we need to work more on giving out these solutions to the public and to the everyday people who might not be into sustainability. And I like the fact that you mentioned you're launching these campaigns to be fun and interactive, and because they will reach more people. This is the biggest issue. Yeah? Between us, we preach the already converted, but it's really about how can we reach the rest of the community. So when we talk about food conservation, so give me an example, because I remember when I was a child, my grandmother would tell me, don't put the apples together with, the other fruits, because they have an enzyme or something that will make the other fruits accelerate the decay. So can you give us any tips, for example, from the moment we buy our food to the moment we actually start preparing our foods? What can we do to reduce food waste?
First, buying food, it will be really good to plan your meal in advance. And just a side joke here, we read a lot of studies saying don't do shopping when you are hungry. And I made this mistake several times. So if you plan your meals for instance for a week, then you will know exactly how much food you need to cook the plant meat, etc. So after reaching our home or our apartment, it's important to store the food we bought in a very concrete and sustainable way. The product that are frozen, it need to go to the fridge as fast as possible to prolong the life cycle of those products. It's important not to wash the vegetable and fruit. Store it as it is and just wash it before eating it. It's also important to, and this trick always works well with me, to have a shelf. It called Eat Me First. This is where you put any product that is close to expiry for you to remember always to use it before using similar product, or to prioritize using this product to minimize or eliminate food waste. Then when it comes to cooking meals, it's really interesting to see what can be done from innovative point of view. A lot of chefs that are part of our campaign taught us a lot of tricks. For instance, one of our chef, Joe Barza, when we had a live session with him, we were really surprised. He was preparing a meal based on aubergine, and the peels of the aubergine, he fried them. He did fries eggplant peels, and they were really delicious. Just he put flour and corn flour and just fried them, and it was like chips. It was really better than chips. So there is a lot of good trick you can use for non-edible food, what we call it non-edible food, like the aubergine peels, the apple peels, and use it in recipes to do a jam or to do some innovative meals. And you can check our campaign. You can check also others food waste advocate that can focus on this, and you can get a lot of ideas.
Give us an idea, for example, what is the website? Where can we go and see for these recipes? Do you have an Instagram page, or how can we follow your chefs?
So we have an account as UNEP West Asia in Twitter and in Instagram. And if you follow the hashtag recipe of change, you can really see some interesting posts, some videos made by the top chef from the regions on what meals can be done, and some tips on how to save, how to store, and how to share.
So what is, I think, very interesting about your campaign is that you're addressing the population in the region. I believe the chefs that you are actually contacting right now are from here. They cook following the local culture and heritage, which is really important also to have more people coming on board and following the recipes. So far, how many chefs do you have?
Okay, so we have 15 chefs from the region, from the West Asia region, and those are the top chefs. They comes from Lebanon, from Oman, from UAE, like Chef Musbah Al-Ka'bi, who is the chief executive of Jumeirah Group, and he taught us a lot of interesting tips. We have also Chef Aisha from UAE, and a lot of chefs from Lebanon, from Syria, from Jordan, from Bahrain, and from Saudi Arabia as well. And those chefs are considered as UNEP voice and ambassadors to deliver this message. Like Goumbook is considered as a strategic partner for us to work together on spreading the word and on giving tips and changing behavior as much as possible.
Thank you, Tarek. This was really, really interesting, and I invite everyone to follow your accounts on Twitter and Instagram. I will do it because honestly, I do compost. But sometimes I feel bad because I think maybe I could use those peels and do something else. I know that a lot of people are trying to pickle different parts of fruits and vegetables, and actually pickles are very healthy. I've heard that they increase our immune system. So at the end, it's all about also, health and nutrition. So no, I thank you very much. I've learned a lot today, and I can't wait to learn more about the local cuisine as well from the local chefs.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Yes, I myself, when we started this, and here I would like really to thank Sarah Asmar from my team, who is the brain behind all this work. I also learned a lot about what can be done. I mean, this is very challenging for us because, the Arab culture in general, they have what we call in Arabic, al-karam al-hatimi, which means they are really generous in food. There is a lot of variety in our diet, which make it more complicated to tackle this issue. So we really thank you for hosting us and having partners like you and others and the chefs. It give us more motivation to work on this topic. Of course, the governmental part is something that we do on a daily basis, but now approaching communities and publics in a fun way, like you are doing here, it's something we are aiming at.
Thank you for joining us on the episode today. Forward Talk is brought to you by Goumbook, where we hope to continue to change mindsets and help shape the global sustainability landscape. I'm your host, Tatiana Antonelli, and this episode was produced by Shira Dizay. You can find out more as well as our previous episodes by visiting goumbook.com/podcast. And tell us more about what you thought by reaching out to us on Instagram at Goumbook, that's Goumbook. See you again soon.